Welcome to Super Nerd Podcast, the adventure that brings you the latest nerd news and rumors from movies, TV, entertainment, and sometimes science. You name it. If it is nerdy, we are talking about it. And tonight's main event is ANDOR, Season 1 finale, Nerd Out. I am your host, Austin, and with me as always is the amazing Amanda. And the wild yet elusive Jekka. And Burn, Brady Burn.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, folks, thanks so much for joining us. Obviously, we're talking Star Wars ANDOR a little later, but we got some other nerdy news we're talking about to include, unfortunately, Power Rangers legend Jason David Frank has died. Bob Iger is back as Walt Disney's CEO, and the first story details for Indiana Jones 5 have come out to include, we're getting a de-aged Indy for part of it, and a whole lot more, so make sure to hit that podcast subscribe button. We would love to nerd out with you each and every week, and if you've already hit that podcast subscribe button, you know what I'm going to say to you. Plus 10 Nerd XP to you. We love you guys. And for everyone else, as soon as you hit that podcast subscribe button, you too can start earning Nerd XP. But in the meantime, Jekka, what's nerdy with you?
So a couple things. I recently started rewatching Doctor Who because I'm like, it's been a while, and it's been so fun. I didn't start, like, I pretty much picked my favorite episode from the first season with, like, Christopher Eccleston.
Okay.
Which is the one called The Empty Child. Takes place in London, 1941. That's my
Yes.
That was the episode that got me into Doctor Who. So I watched that one and then skipped to like the 2-part episode season finale, and then I've just been going from there, and it's so fun. I like the Doctor. But then I'm currently wearing a sweater that says Star Laboratories on it, like from The Flash. And I was at a birthday. Yeah, I was at a birthday party yesterday, and I didn't think that this would be one of those t-shirts where people would think it was a real place, because I had someone ask me about it. They're like, where is that? That sounds so cool. And I was like, oh yeah, it's from a TV show.
Oh, you should have went with it. You were getting some street cred.
I really should have.
Can you sit up a little bit? Is that shirt, is it a sweatshirt or is it a sweater?
Oh, it's a sweater.
It's a sweater.
Yeah.
You got a Flash Star Laboratory sweater. Where did you find that?
I actually, it was like when the series started, my sister and I were both way into it, and so for Christmas my mom got us these sweaters.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah. And even though I never made it past like season 5, I still like wearing it. I'm like, I like this. I like the first couple seasons, so
that's pretty cool.
I still like Grant Gustin. I think he's a great Barry Allen, so.
Indeed. All right, Brady, what's nerdy with you, man?
Oh, I've been staying really busy with real life stuff the past week, and then of course there's that whole Thanksgiving thing. So we hosted here, so small group, but it was really good to see the fam. Tons of rain, so we had some not make it because they were washed out. But I went and test drove a new bass guitar last week, so kind of got bit by the bug on that one.
Yeah, you've been playing it a bunch.
Yeah, I'm looking at a new Music Man 24, so I'm thinking about getting it, but I gotta sell the domestic boss on that before I do. So that's it. Really been doing some music and some video gaming. I actually played some video games the other night. Popped out my VR headset and my wheel, launched into some Assetto Corsa, and raced around Spa in a Porsche 911. So
that's cool.
Yeah, good times.
I've been playing a lot of Battlefront 2 on Heroes Only mode, so that way I can have Vader go against Jedi and whatnot.
Are you playing on the PC or on a console?
I'm playing on PS4.
Oh, okay. So, all right.
Sorry to disappoint.
No. The reason I asked because I have Battlefront 2 on the PC. I've just never played with anyone on there. I bought like a Star Wars bundle, so I got that, and then I played through the Cal Keston through that series.
Jedi Outcast.
Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Jedi Fallen Order. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
Wait,
kind
Jedi
of angling.
Outcast. What is that? Was it the name of the Jedi Knight 3 Jedi Outcast?
It may have been.
Okay, so
but
yeah, Fallen Order. Have you beaten Fallen Order?
Yeah, and I'm angling for a BDO1 Lego set.
I have a hard time with that game. I recognize the plot is awesome, but I don't do well with those types of games that have the weird, funky controls where you have to time everything as opposed to
combo
just
stuff,
free-forming stuff.
I mean, from what I see when I watch my friend play it, it's just like a kid-friendly Star Wars themed Tomb Raider.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Well, and the controls are easier. With mouse and keyboard, it's a little bit different, right? So, I mean, it's a little superior to the controller controls. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I did play through that, and they're actually making a new one, which I'm really excited about. And I'm wondering if that actor,
Survivor.
I'm wondering if that actor is ever going to make an appearance in canon anywhere in the live action stuff.
Oh, I'm sure.
Be cool to see.
It would be cool. All right, Amanda, what is nerdy with you?
So my kids are rather upset that they haven't been able to binge season 3 this week of Stranger Things. They got started, and so when season 3 came out, there were these big stand-ups at Baskin Robbins of the Scoops Ahoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my kids I wanted to take pictures with them with the little thing, and I was looking through my photos, and I have 2 kids that did it. The other 2 were like, that's dumb. We don't want to do that. We have no idea what this is. And now they're like, oh, I wanted my picture with that.
Oh. That's kind of funny.
That's great.
What episode are they on?
I think they're on episode 4.
Yeah.
Are you gonna let them watch season 4?
Yes.
I need to go back and watch the whole series again right before 5 comes out. And
that's what I'm doing. I'm waiting.
Yeah.
It is very different watching it from the beginning after watching season 4.
Oh, yeah, see, that's what I'm waiting on. Like, I want everything to die down in my brain from season 4 before I rewatch all of it. So yeah.
I want to go back and see some of the stuff the significance of some of the stuff that I may have missed previously.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing my kids watched this week is they watched Spirited, which is the new holiday movie with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. And my son is now obsessed with the phrase "good afternoon."
Oh my word.
So just to spoil one of the songs, they say that back in the 1800s, saying "good afternoon" was an insult.
It was like a swear word. So the kids are having so much fun. They just run around going, "Good afternoon, good afternoon," and it doesn't stop, and it's loud, and it's so annoying.
It is hilarious.
No, it's not. It's really annoying.
My son had a friend over today, and he's like, I could hear him going, "Oh dear, seen Spirited?" And when his friend confirmed it, he yelled, "Good afternoon!" And the friend yelled back, "Good afternoon!"
It's fun. I've got to see that. That sounds good.
It actually wasn't that bad of a movie. It was, long story short, it's a Dickens,
a reimagining of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, reimagining, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. They take a different swing at it, and it was enjoyable.
The best part is it is a musical, and you've got one guy complaining the whole time through the whole thing, just telling people, "Would you please stop singing?" It's great.
So it's pretty much like, what is it, Rousseau the Rat from Muppet's Christmas Carol?
Yes.
That's what he does the whole time. He's like, why is everyone singing?
Oh, no. This is a guy that knows they're about to start singing and will actually start yelling at people playing music or spotlights and tell them to turn it off. Because he knows it's coming.
Funny.
It is kind of funny. All right, I want to share something. So 2 things. One, Brady brought up Thanksgiving. So, back in the day, for whatever reason, I think it was TBS. They would always play a ton of James Bond movies throughout like Thanksgiving week, and so I decided that me and my kids would watch a bunch of James Bond movies. So we marathon 3 Bond movies in a day.
We did some James Bonding together.
Yes, we did James Bonding. We watched From Russia with Love, Lit and Let Die,
Lit and Let Die. That's a very interesting.
Yeah, and what?
Lit and Let Die.
Live and Let Die. And we watched The Spy Who Loved Me. And a lot of fun. In fact, the kids want to watch more Bond movies, so I find that as a success. And then second, Willow comes out on Wednesday, and I am highly excited for that. And we need to like schedule some sort of like Willow party. Remember we had Chelsea and them, so we need to figure out if we can do that. But we'll have to arrange that. Anyways, so we're not just gonna watch Willow. We're gonna celebrate Willow. We're gonna celebrate. It's coming out. Part of my fandom has always involved the build up towards whatever is coming out. I've always enjoyed the build up almost as much as the actual event or the movie, and so I need something to build up Willow when it finally the TV series comes out, because I've been waiting for this forever, and I'm super excited.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Bond thing. I almost started a Bond marathon with the boys yesterday.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and so it's kind of weird timing that you mentioned that. But I was going to start them on the Daniel Craig movies. You're saying start them earlier?
We've jumped all over the place. It's whatever Bond movie I feel like watching at the moment, and so I think their first movie actually was maybe Casino Royale. Okay. But I think they've only seen Casino Royale. They've seen Skyfall. They've seen what was the one that just came out? No Time to Die. But they have not seen Quantum of Solace or Spectre yet. They've seen all of the Timothy Dalton, The Living Daylights, and License to Kill. The Living Daylights, by the way, is actually my favorite Bond movie. And then they've seen From Russia with Love, and I think they've seen one other Sean Connery, and they've seen just the 2 Roger Moore. So we've seen probably about like 60% of all the Bond movies together so far. So, anyways, I like it. It's fun stuff. It's giggly entertainment. So, anyways, we got a lot to talk about. So let's jump into some nerd news.
Many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Ooh. And what is the news that should be on your nerd radar? Well, Power Rangers legend Jason David Frank has died. Jason David Frank, one of the original stars of the classic 90s action series Power Rangers, has died at the age of 49. According to reports, the actor and mixed martial artist died in Texas due to suicide. Jason David Frank played Tommy Oliver. He started out as the villainous Green Ranger in the first season and ended up turning good, transforming into the White Ranger and becoming the leader of the Power Rangers. Frank starred in the series for 3 seasons, totaling 123 episodes. Frank also returned to the franchise several times over the years, appearing in franchises such as Wild Force, Turbo, Zeo, Dino Thunder, Megaforce, Ninja Steel, Hyperforce, and more. So Jason David Frank is survived by his 4 children and Jason's rep Justine shared. Please respect the privacy of his family and friends during this horrible time as we come to terms with the loss of such a wonderful human being. He loved his family, friends, and fans very much. He will truly be missed. You know, a number of the original Power Rangers have actually come out and either expressed in statements or even on video on their social media, just how much Jason meant to them. And one of those was Walter Jones, who played the Black Ranger. And he said in a statement, quote, "He was an inspiration to so many people. His presence will be dearly missed. It's so sad to lose another member of our Ranger family. Jason was one of the biggest pranksters on the show. He had a wild sense of humor. We had our shares of ups and downs, but I stayed consistent about being an ear if he needed one. My prayers go out to his family and all that will miss him." End quote.
It's so sad because I have such great memories of the Power Rangers, and hearing how he died, that it saddens me because he was a fun actor to watch. I don't know what other things he was doing and whatnot, but I hold a special place in my heart for Power Rangers because that was really like the big thing I watched when I was in 4th, 5th grade, and I had a large group of friends that we'd play Power Rangers together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was like my total childhood crush. Like, he was my favorite. And I think it's just because, like, how well he portrayed Tommy and Tommy's story. But yeah, he was like my childhood crush. So that is so sad. I was sad about that.
I remember being weirded out when I saw him on another show when I was a kid. It's like California Dreams or something like that. It was some like random Saturday show that came on after Saturday morning cartoons, and I was like, no, he's a Power Ranger. This doesn't work.
It's like, this doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, he had an impressive martial art career. I mean, he was an 8th Dan black belt in Shotokan karate. He was a black belt in Wado karate, a black belt in taekwondo, a black belt in judo, a purple belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and an RN degree in Muay Thai. Very, very impressive martial art background. Like he was pretty legit in his martial art discipline.
That's so sad that with everything that it would be suicide. I think that's so sad.
It looked like I was reading his wiki article, and it looked like his wife had filed for divorce this year.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that's just a simple byline in a wiki article, but that can come with a lot of personal
so much behind
personal
that
trauma. Yeah.
That's so sad.
Yeah,
He'll be missed.
He will be missed indeed. Moving on, Bob Iger is back as Walt Disney CEO. Less than a year ago, Bob Iger retired as CEO of the Walt Disney Company and was replaced by Bob Chapek. Well, that didn't last long. And we all hope Iger enjoyed his short break because he's back as Disney CEO, and Chapek is out effective immediately. This was a huge surprise announcement that no one saw coming, and Iger has signed on to be CEO for the next 2 years with a mandate from the board to set the strategic direction for renewed growth and to work closely with the board in developing a successor to lead the company at the completion of his term. So the Walt Disney Company board chair, Susan Arnold, released the following statement. "We thank Bob Chapek for his service to Disney over his long career, including navigating the company through the unprecedented challenges of the pandemic. The board has concluded that as Disney embarks on an increasingly complex period of industry transformation, Bob Iger is uniquely situated to lead the company through this pivotal period. Mr. Iger has the deep respect of Disney's senior leadership, most of whom he worked closely with until his departure as executive chairman 11 months ago, and he is greatly admired by Disney employees worldwide, all of which will allow for a seamless transition of leadership." Iger himself then had the following to say in the statement, quote, "I'm extremely optimistic for the future of this great company and thrilled to be asked by the board to return as its CEO. Disney and its comparable brands and franchises hold a special place in the hearts of so many people around the globe, most especially in the hearts of our employees, whose dedication to this company and its mission is an inspiration. I am deeply honored to be asked to again lead this remarkable team with a clear mission focused on creative excellence to inspire generations through unrivaled, bold storytelling, end quote.
So I really want to be in the room, or I wish I was in the room to see what it took for them to convince him to come back out of retirement. I mean, my father retired last year and he's been loving it. I'm just like, for some, like, to the CEO of Disney to retire and be like, woohoo, okay, I'm retired. And then they're like, come back. I'm just like, I want to see what happens specifically.
When there's a bunch of zeros after a number,
that's what I think. I think
really
there was
helps
a
coming back.
lot of money. I'm like, I bet there was a lot of money that went into that. But yeah, I mean, that's just funny to me. But yeah, I'm curious to see, like, I mean, I'm curious to see, like, how he's going to help with that transition, because, you know, they're like, we're going to give you 2 years, help us find a new CEO during that time. So I'm like, okay, that's a lot to do.
Well,
You know?
so there's been rumor, and the part that catches my attention is when the company board chair Susan Arnold said, quote, the board has concluded that as Disney embarks on an increasingly complex period of industry transformation, they've got to be talking about streaming. Bob Iger is uniquely situated to lead the company through this pivotal period. So here's where here's the rumor. The rumor is that Bob Iger might be trying to set up Disney to be sold to Apple.
Oh.
And that's why they wanted Bob Iger back, because he knows how to work these bold sales. And Bob Iger has been on Apple's board for years and years, and so there is that relationship. And you know, Apple, with their streaming interest, you know, there's very few companies that have the money to buy Walt Disney World or the Disney company.
Disney.
Disney. Yeah, just Disney. And Apple is one of those.
So
And
this is like this is a plot twist then. So it's not Disney taking over the world, it's Apple.
Yes.
A little bit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so
crazy.
that is the rumor that's going around. I don't know how legit it is, but we talk rumors.
I can really support getting behind not paying for another streaming service and just kind of combine some things.
I can see Brady might be having some issues with this.
I'm just trying to conceptualize how, I mean, buy Disney. Think about those two words.
Much. Yeah.
That's
like that's very bold.
That's like, I'm going to buy Walmart. You know, I mean, it's just such a juggernaut, right?
Yeah.
That I don't think that, now maybe a division of Disney, right? But I don't see how Apple could buy Disney. It seems like just such an incomprehensible amount that they would have to pay, like GDP level amount.
Apple has more revenue than some countries in the world. So
and you're not wrong. I mean, but would they spend it all? I mean, who am I, right?
When you're trying to avoid paying taxes, you can buy a company and avoid paying taxes.
That's smarter minds than me.
Yeah.
Well, I just know that they could spend a humongous amount and then defer the tax for years from the purchase of Disney.
Because they're like, we bought $1 billion company. We don't got none.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just kind of like, whoa. I thought Disney was going to be taking over the world, but it's Apple now? I'm like, dang.
Well,
yeah, it's nuts.
We know Disney has been working on that for so long, and then Apple just comes out as a bigger Pac-Man.
Mm-hmm. It's the ghost. It's Pac-Man's ghost.
Yeah. All right, moving on. The final trailer for Avatar, The Way of Water has been released. 20th Century Studios has released the final trailer for director James Cameron's Avatar, The Way of Water. The film is set more than a decade after the events of the first film, and Avatar, The Way of Water begins to tell the story of the Sully family, the troubles that follow them, the lengths they go to keep each other safe, the battles they fight to stay alive, and the tragedies they endure. 3 additional films will continue the series. They're already set. Avatar 3 is tentatively scheduled for December 20th, 2024. Avatar 4 set for December 18th, 2026. And Avatar 5, December 22nd, 2028. Let's take a listen to this trailer, and we'll talk about it afterwards. Or did I forget to load it? Dang it! I forgot to load it.
Oh, I'm so sad.
You know,
We'll just have to talk about it.
There's a reason why I have a checklist, and if you'll notice, I haven't been going through our pre-podcast checklist. Anyways, okay, I just loaded it. Here we go. Let's take a listen.
Darn it.
Nope. That's the Andor trailer. Give me a second. I gotta load the right
let's
trailer.
Just talk about it. Let's just talk
No,
about it.
I want to listen to this thing. Here we go.
Why do you come to us? I just want to keep my family safe. Treat them as our brothers and sisters. Teach them our ways. Keep up, Forest Boy! If you want to live here, you have to ride. Let's do it.
Just breathe. Breathe.
Outcasts, that's all they see.
I see you.
Like you, I'm supposed to fight. Protect the people. Let's get it done.
Avatar, The Way of Water. Experience it in 3D. Only in theaters, December 16th. Tickets on sale now.
So I'm going to start my my commentary here by acknowledging that we have often poked fun at another Avatar movie coming along, and my initial negative part of the takeaway from this is looking at it. It looks like it might be very similar to the plot that was that was Avatar. Just looking at it, only it's underwater this time. But I'm gonna have the rare positive comment about this. Watching this trailer and seeing the cinematics in it, and seeing that it's available in 3D, I might actually pay money to go see this in the theater in 3D because it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
I can't speak for the content of the story or any of that, but the visuals were beautiful, and I can see how that would, especially all of those underwater scenes, would be great in 3D, I think.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's how I feel with this movie. I think I mean, will be honest, probably the only reason I'll really make an effort to go see this movie opening weekend is for the podcast. But even then, like, I would be intrigued enough without the podcast. I'd want to go and see like just the visual cinematography. Because yeah, the first one I was like, plot wise, it was meh. But the cinematography was beautiful, you know, and technology has come so far since then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cinematography at this point, I'm like, that's what I'm looking forward to. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm willing to eat crow. I would rather see a great movie than be right in that this movie's gonna bomb. But you know, some of the reports I've heard is that the 3D technology is a significant step up than what we're used to with 3D movies. Just like how the first Avatar was a significant step up and reintroduced 3D movies to cinema, this movie is going to be kind of doing the same thing. It's going to be revolutionary in its 3D technology, and from some of the reports I've read, those who have seen like some previews of this movie and have been able to witness this new 3D technology, they've all been blown away. Um, but that's almost to be expected. Um, it's the plot of this movie. It's will it actually be interesting? I think I'd be excited to go see this in the theater in 3D with a nice big thing of popcorn because I love popcorn. and I'd almost be more excited to have some good popcorn than to actually have another Avatar movie. But I'd still be willing to go for the 3D
made jokes
technology.
with my daughter that I'm going to send her and make her do the podcast for now.
Toss in some junior mints and we can talk, Austin.
Yeah, no, Junior Mints, let's go for it. So, anyways, I'm going in with an open mind, honestly, I do hope I have a great movie experience.
I'm going in with low expectations and really hoping that it beats my low expectations.
Sure, yeah. Sometimes that's the best way to go into any movie. Low expectations. Moving on, let's talk Kang the Conqueror. Apparently will have a profound impact in the MCU, starting with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania officially kicks off Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and in it, superhero partners Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne return to continue their adventures as Ant-Man and the Wasp. But that's not all, because the MCU's next big villain, Kang the Conqueror, first seen in the TV series Loki on Disney Plus, is also in the adventure. And Ant-Man franchise director Peyton Reed says that the villain will have a profound impact on the MCU. And in an interview with Empire magazine, Reed said, quote, I think it being, Kang the Conqueror, I think it has a profound impact on the MCU. Jeff Loveness, who wrote this movie, is writing the Kang Dynasty as well. So there's been a lot of discussion about the impact that this appearance of Kang the Conqueror makes. He's someone who has dominion over time, and he's a warrior and a strategist. There are big things in store. Those big things will all come to a head with Avengers, the Kang Dynasty movie. So Marvel Studios' Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania opens in theaters February 17th, 2023.
Yeah, that's coming up quick. And I can't wait to see that. You know, I told you, just to put some perspective on it, I told you I watched that movie, The Harder They Fall, with Jonathan Majors, who plays Kang. And subsequently, I went and watched every episode of Lovecraft Country, and he's just as good in that as he was in the movie. So him coming in as Kang and Kang having a more of a presence in the MCU, I'm super excited about. And I'm also excited to see what Kang the character can bring to the MCU that's a little different. I get kind of I guess Loki is really the definitive series that talks about time travel and all of that jazz. But that vibe was really good, and it'll be great to see him in these other environments, culminating in that Avengers King Dynasty movie.
Well, the excitement for me is Ant-Man and the Quantum Realm is the first movie of Phase 5. Because Phase 4 just ended with Wakanda Forever.
Oh,
Maybe.
Okay. I was just about to ask. I was like, what was the movie that wrapped it up? But, okay.
Yeah, Phase 4 just ended. And we're getting the post-credit scene equivalent with... what was it? What's it called? Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special. They're including that in Phase 4.
Maybe Ant-Man and the Wasp: QUATUMAINIA will have them go into the quantum realm and meet some younger people and kind of hand off the moniker of Ant-Man to.
No, all we need is a mutant, just one mutant.
Oh yeah,
because that they said Phase 4 they wouldn't add any of the X-Men, but now we're fair game. Phase 5 is fair game.
Here's what I find most interesting about all this is Kang is going to be the big villain of Phase 5, and they're introducing Kang to general audiences in February. Usually February, isn't the biggest, rush to the movie theater. It's the summer blockbuster. But, over the last few years, February has done, pretty good for some of these blockbusters. So I think Marvel is feeling confident in Ant-Man and the Wasp to bring in moviegoers, because it is a little risky. Because if they're placing like all of Phase 5 and maybe Phase 6 on Kang and what he will do and bring to the MCU, you'd almost want to make sure he's in a tentpole movie that absolutely people are going to come and watch. But I don't know.
They were already stretching into February before the pandemic, and in order to keep up with the pace they wanted to do the movies, they've had to put more movies in each year.
Sure.
So that's why we're going into February.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Check this out. The first story details for Indiana Jones 5 have been released, and we're getting news that we're getting a de-age Indy. So it was recently confirmed that Indiana Jones 5 will feature a de-aged Harrison Ford in a flashback scene set in 1944 that will see Indiana Jones fighting a group of Nazis. This is the opening scene of the film, and when talking about the scene, the director James Mangold said, quote, then we fall out and find yourself in 1969, so that the audience doesn't experience the change between the 40s and the 60s as an intellectual conceit, but literally experiences the buccaneering spirit of those early days and then the beginning of now. When talking about seeing himself de-aged, Harrison Ford said it was a little spooky, but then hyped it up by saying, this is the first time I've seen it where I believe it. I don't think I even want to know how it works, but it works. It doesn't make me want to be young, though. I'm glad to have earned my age. So in addition to this, we've got our first concrete story details of what Indiana Jones 5 includes. And we know it's going to be set in 1969. And Indiana Jones is living against the backdrop of the space race, but the American effort to beat the Russians to the moon brings with it some uncomfortable truths for Indy. It's explained. The simple fact is that the moon landing program was run by a bunch of ex-Nazis. So how ex they are is the question, and it gets up Indy's nose, pitching Indiana, a man who's always looking to the secrets of the earth rather than the stars, into the era of the astronauts, finds him even more a man out of time. It's not just that the model of what a hero is has completely changed. It's not just that they're looking for something something where there's nothing up there. It's like Reno without gambling or whatever his line is, but the people that are behind it are, his sworn enemies, end quote. So we're getting ex-Nazis leading the moon landing.
Okay.
And
did they not learn what was wrong with the crystal skull? Sorry.
No, I was going to say that same thing. I was like, I was really excited for this until they said space race. And I'm like, the thing we like about Indiana Jones is that he deals with like myths, earth myths, things like, the crystal skull thing is like, yes, there was that. It was annoying that it became aliens, but there's so many other like myths out there. Like they did, the Ark, the Holy Grail. They had the stones from India. Like I was just like, why are we doing space stuff still? Like I don't
archaeologist.
Understand. Yeah, I don't understand.
Jekka, it's like picking you up and going, okay, well, we're going to take you to look at some rocks, and since you're a scientist, you're going to tell us about rocks.
Right? Yeah, they're going to be like, hey, you're an archaeologist. You can read the stars, right? So
are we going to see Indiana Jones? Are we going to see Indiana Jones in space?
I don't want to. That's the thing.
I have no interest in that. Zero.
Yeah, and I'm just like, man, I was so excited for this, and now I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm worried. Brady,
I'm getting Moonraker vibes.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. James Bond in space meets Indiana Jones in space.
Yeah.
Well, Indiana Jones was always a caricature of James Bond. So
sure.
No, that's legit.
Okay.
That's not okay. All right. Here's how Indiana Jones happened. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were sitting on a beach. They're friends. Steven Spielberg says to George, I want to make a James Bond movie, and George Lucas says, well, I got one better for you. Here's Indiana Jones. And so, that's why Sean Connery was in Indiana Jones 3.
I just thought they needed a great actor, and they're like, Sean Connery's a great actor.
They're awesome.
All right. No.
Yeah.
It's all legit. It's legit.
Although I am curious to see this de-aging thing. Like, I mean, yeah. Because we've seen it with like Mark Hamill with Luke in Mandalorian, and that was kind of weird. So I'm like curious to see it here too.
Well, that wasn't de-aging; that was straight up AI. But we have seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, we have seen it with Samuel Jackson. Okay, and it looked great.
All right, if you guys want it to be more James Bond-esque, wouldn't it be more appropriate if Indiana Jones was going somewhere and facing off against communists instead of Nazis?
That's what didn't he? Well, he was fighting communists in
the fourth one. It was the Russians. Yeah.
So keep the Russians, ditch the aliens.
No.
He's an archaeologist.
But we can't pass
it
up.
It belongs in a museum.
We can't pass up Indiana Jones punching a space Nazi. Okay. I am joking. I actually agree with you, Amanda. Well, we'll see. I got my fingers crossed. I'm rooting for this movie. I hope it's good. Maybe we'll eat crow in a year, because the movie comes out next year, June 30th, 2023.
What I'm so hoping for is that they realize that the fans do not like this idea, and like Sonic, they rewrite it before they shoot it.
All right, moving on. Kevin Bacon is talking Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special and his involvement. So Kevin Bacon is making his MCU debut in Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which comes out this week. But he's actually been a part of the Marvel lore for many years, because if you remember, back when the first Guardians of the Galaxy came out in 2014, Peter Quill actually absolutely loved him. Kevin Bacon was mentioned as part of the pop culture memories of Peter Quill from his time as a kid on Earth. So Bacon sat down with Yahoo's Kevin Pahlawi to talk about his technical big screen debut ahead of his in-person one. And here's what he had to say. Let's take a listen.
So basically, I went to the first Guardians movie opening weekend. For one thing, it looked great. And for another thing, I had worked with James Gunn. And so, I wanted to see what he was going to do with this crazy kind of franchise. And there I was all alone in the theater, and all of a sudden they're talking about me. So you can imagine that's a pretty out of body experience, especially when it's such a, it's one thing if it was like, I don't know, a drama or just like a regular comedy, but they're in a whole other universe, a whole other world. Yeah. And I called my wife afterwards and said, "You're not going to believe what just happened." I said, "But I'm not going to tell you. I want to go back to this movie with you. I'm telling you, it's a great movie. You're going to get a big kick out of it." So I took her back and didn't tell her, what was going to happen. And she had the same experience I did.
The legend of Footloose is intergalactic.
Intergalactic, yeah.
I'm excited for it. I like Kevin Bacon, and I really like the premise of them kidnapping Kevin Bacon. That looks hilarious in the trailers.
Yes. Yeah, I look forward to watching this. We'll have to watch it as a family. Yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is officially a part of the MCU story, so don't skip out on it. And it's all about them trying to kidnap Kevin Bacon.
It's essentially the end credit scene to Phase 4.
Yes. An extended end credit scene.
I haven't seen Wakanda Forever yet, so I should go watch that and then watch the holiday special.
Yes.
Probably. I just thought something. Was it the first Guardians or was it the second Guardians in which the end credit scene had Howard the Duck in it? And we haven't seen Howard the Duck since.
I want to say it was like the first one, because the first one's when they go to the Collector.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because it's on because they go to the planet Nowhere, and because that's where the Infinity Stone is. And it was after they trashed the place. The end scene was Howard the Duck.
Indeed. All right, folks. I think it's time to talk some Star Wars Andor.
We had our honeymoon on Alderaan.
Good thing we took pictures, huh?
Shut up, Wesley.
You have no idea what you're dealing with.
Shakespeare in the Park.
And that bell means it's time for our main event! Star Wars Andor! Season 1 finale, Nerd Out!
To steal from the Empire? To just walk in like you belong? They're so proud of themselves. So fat and satisfied. They can't imagine that someone like me would ever get inside their house.
Cassian Andor. The Empire is choking us so slowly. We're starting not to notice. What I'm asking is this. Wouldn't you rather give it all to something real? I need all the heroes I can get.
For the greater good.
Call it what you will.
Let's call it war.
There's fermenting out there, son. Pockets of fermenting.
You're in my net. Are you a fish? Or are you a thief?
You're slipping.
I'm not slipping. I've just been hiding for too long.
As long as everyone thinks I'm an irritation, there's a good chance they'll miss what I'm really doing.
What are you really doing?
This is what revolution looks like.
I'm tired of losing.
Hey, special shout out to all you super nerds who have hit that podcast subscribe button. We really, really appreciate you. Please help us get the word out. Please tell a friend about the podcast. And I want to invite you to hit that podcast subscribe button if you've not done so already. Come on, do it. You'll get plus 10 Nerd XP.
Nerd XP.
All right. Star Wars Andor. We have finished the first season. 12 episodes, the longest of the Disney Plus Star Wars series so far. What were your guys' thoughts? What did you think of it? I'm opening it up to you guys.
So I'll start off this way. My aunt and uncle, who live not too far from me, they are not really big into like the fantasy sci-fi kind of stuff. Like they've seen Star Wars, but it's not their cup of tea kind of thing. They're more into the like crime drama, espionage sort of thing. And there was a scene where when I watched it and it finished, like I can't remember which episode it is, but I'll describe the scene in a little bit. Anyways, when I saw that scene, I was like, whew, I'm pretty sure my aunt and uncle would like this. And they're not big Star Wars fans. Because it's right up their alley with the espionage stuff that I'm like, I think they would really like that. But anyways, the scene was, it was with that woman from ISB, and she was in the conference room, and pretty much like her rival ratted her out on that she was secretly like digging into other people's reports. And, you know, it was like a really tense moment, and she pulled through it, came out on top. Like her supervisor was like, he was like, no, that's good thinking, you know, and totally pretty much gave her all of the other guys' stuff. So he was like booted out. And that scene, you guys know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that scene, whew, that was intense. And there's like no music. It is strictly dialogue. But man, that was wild. So it was that scene that I was just like, I think my aunt and uncle would like this kind of thing. So I enjoyed it.
Good.
There we go.
Okay.
Long first answer.
Brady, I'm assuming you liked it because you're wearing an Andor shirt.
Well, what do you think about it, Austin?
No. You talk first, Brady.
All right.
It's awkward because I'm like, I really liked it.
Amanda,
What's
what
going
you think?
on?
So I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I like the intrigue and like more of like what's going on in the Empire. I love Cassian's description of how the Empire couldn't even believe that someone would be like me, would go in to their house and steal their stuff. And the bloat and the corruption in the Empire. I really like seeing that. And I like seeing how the rebellion forms. And especially like Mon Mothma and her family, what's going on with her family. It's the little details that matter in Andor, and they get it so well.
Yeah, for me, it's hands down my favorite Star Wars series, and above many of the movies. It was perfect for me, absolutely perfect. I loved every bit of it. I loved the pacing of it. I loved the story. I loved what they included and what they excluded. Because I mean, we've talked about it before. There's a lot of Star Wars. I hesitate to use the word tropes because that makes it sound cheap, but there's a lot of Star Wars standards that are in every movie that are not in this series. And this series was a real gamble because it didn't have any of those. And I think that they absolutely knocked it out of the park working with a completely different tool set than all of the previous Star Wars creations. So yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, no, I want to add because I've been telling a lot of my friends this just to kind of get them. I've been trying to talk many of my friends to watch Andor who haven't, and to me, Andor had in it what I wish Star Wars Rogue One had. I felt like Star Wars Rogue One would have been so much better if they approached it from an espionage side way instead of like typical Star Wars side. Because like the last half of the movie is phenomenal, you know, when they're getting the Death Star plans, it's awesome. But the first part of it, I was like, ooh, if they had that espionage intrigue that Andor had, it would have been amazing. You know.
Well, after season 2, Rogue One's going to have a completely different impact. You know, watching it. Diego Luna, I mean,
he's
Stellan
so good.
Skarsgård, Diego Luna, all of the cast, really.
Oh,
I mean,
and the actress that played his mom is Fiona Shaw. Like,
yeah,
she's one of my favorites. Like,
yeah. It's I think that witnessing because this series is about transformation, and it's not just transformation of Andor, Cassian Andor, but I mean you're seeing all of these transformations. Mon Mothma, the Empire, how it's transforming, how the Rebellion is transforming, and how in that finale you see, you know, up until that point, this entire first season, it's been very cloak and dagger, right? The resistance, the rebellion has been very behind the scenes. Let's see what we can do here, see what we can do there, see, you know, and then um, you know, in that finale is really the spark. And I think that season 2 is going to transform from this cloak and dagger type to real rebellion and what they're doing, and the inclusion of Saw Gerrera in that, you know, with Andor and his path, his transformation from this I don't want to be a part of anything to okay, you know, you can either kill me or take me, right? You know, when it comes to that, I mean that's a light switch, and I think, you know, we've had the lights out operating in the dark in season 1, and I really anticipate that season 2 will be lights on and a lot more Rogue One-ish from an action perspective. That's what I would guess. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. What about you, Austin? What you think?
I've been thinking about this because I knew I was going to have to talk about it. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great. I didn't dislike it. I did have issues with some parts of it. Honestly, I thought there were elements that were frankly boring, and I was just waiting to see what happens. Like, in all honesty, almost everything that happened in the forest arc before they go into the coffers, like I was just kind of bored out of my mind. Most of the episodes ended, and I would be like, "That's it." Like we didn't really advance the story in any way. We just kind of like watched them talk. They what is going on? And I think part of the issue, and I've recognized this with me in stories. Like I want to know what I'm watching. I want to know what I'm watching so that way I know what they're building towards a little bit. And I didn't really exactly know what Andor was going to turn out to be, except for like the blank, you know, it's going to be an espionage spy type of movie. Like, okay, like I'm fine with that, but like, what are we doing exactly? Like, I kind of want to know. And so I just didn't find it as engaging. Now, that doesn't mean that I hated it. I didn't hate it. There were some things I actually really enjoyed. As much as I didn't like the forest arc, I flip it on its end, and I absolutely loved the prison arc.
That was a cool part.
The
circus.
Yeah, the entire prison arc I thought was the best part of the entire show. I actually really enjoyed that prison arc a lot. And I would have been okay if the entire season was just the prison arc, because I found that to be significantly more. I found that to be significantly more interesting than just about any of the other arcs they had in the show. And as much as I actually really loved Mon Mothma's stuff, but they didn't advance it as much as I wanted, and they didn't. They didn't. It's like every single episode or every single scene with Mon Mothma, in my opinion, became predictable. The scene was always going to end with her kind of biting her lip, quivering, like tears in her eyes, saying, "Oh, am I going to do this or not?" And it's like, and I was like, okay, come on, let's add a little bit more to Mon Mothma's character than just always biting her lip and quivering. Like when it first started, I was really into Mon Mothma's arc, and I actually found that to be the most interesting for a while until it kind of just became predictable for me. Now I'll say one thing. In my mind, I don't know how this is going to be taken by some people. Okay, in my mind, I was completely revved up and ready to go if Darth Maul showed up in this. And let me tell you how. In my mind, I was thinking that maybe because like, where did this Luther? Is it Luther?
Luthen.
Oh, it is Luthen. Okay, yeah, we were both wrong.
Where did this Luthen guy show up? And how is he so organized and good at getting people into the Imperial system? Like, you would almost need to be an apprentice to the Emperor to understand how the Emperor's systems work, so that way you can slip people in past all these, barriers. And so, from Darth Maul's perspective, it would make a lot of sense that he would want revenge on what the Emperor's done to him and his ostracization of him. And so I was thinking to myself, like, it would have been incredibly interesting if Darth Maul had a very significant impact on the starting formation of the rebellion. Not that, and I didn't think for a moment that it would take anything away from, like, the final episode where they had Marva, inspiring the crowd. I think that'd be great. Yeah, I don't think it would take away from that at all. But Darth Maul's involvement would dramatically connect the show to everything else that's going on, and there'd be plausible motivation for it. And I think it would add a sense of realism, believe it or not, to how they're able to get all these people into all these different segments of the Empire without raising too much concern.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to revisit that. When you're talking about these people into all the segments of the Empire, what exactly are you talking about? Because it doesn't appear that they have folks in the higher echelons of command.
They do.
Do they?
Well, that's
the spy.
What's that?
The spy.
Well, he
wasn't necessarily someone in command, but he had access to everything.
Well, I mean, like Saw. Take Saw's, like, you've got people everywhere. He's saying that. Well, how did he get people everywhere?
Well, you can learn to navigate those. I mean, the Empire is making no secret of itself, and you do have the Senate allies that can navigate bureaucracy.
Yeah, that, and you have to remember that even with Jedi powers, when you have an absolute ruler, there breeds corruption. It breeds inefficiency, and it breeds a way to get spies in because of the absolute control of the Emperor. Like, as much as the Senate has a say, they didn't really have any say. And it breeds that corruption that allows for a spy network to infiltrate.
So I know it sounds like I'm really ragging on the show, and I'm trying not to, because I actually did enjoy a good chunk of it, but I don't think it's as perfect as everybody on the internet is seemingly to say. Like, oh, it's the best thing that Star Wars has ever created since Star Wars first came out, and I'm just kind of scratching my head saying, what?
Well, I think it's because, going back to like what I was saying, is it's a different, and what Brady said too, is it's a different approach to it's a side of Star Wars we've never seen. Because like we've always, like, if you think about it, up until this time, there's always a mention of the Force. There's always a mention of a Jedi, if not at least one Jedi appearing. But this one, we don't get any of that. None at all. It's strictly just the people trying to survive or fight back or something, and I don't know, to me, like, I didn't, like, I don't know, for Luthen to have all his fingers everywhere, like, I just kind of, like, it made sense to me considering what Cassian says, and that the Empire's fat, and that, like, it's easy to slip in, that, like, I could see Luthen, he was able to do that. He just was being more careful about it than Cassian was. Cassian was like, I just walked in, whereas Luthen would have been more careful, a lot of espionage. And that was what I liked about this, is it showed the darker side of espionage, where after they got Cassian to help him out with the heist, which I actually really liked that. I was like, ooh, sweet, we got a bank heist going on, kind of thing, It was like a prison break and a bank heist all rolled into one. Like, after that, pretty much the one girl, like the one lady that was in charge of the bank heist, meets with Luthen's assistant, and Luthen's assistant is like, kill Andor. And she's like, what? He helped us. She's like, yeah, kill him, loose end. And I really liked that, because it showed that, like, the good guys are not star and shiny good. Like, they're not completely, what's the word? Like, dirt free, I guess. Like,
Sure.
they do have that darker side. So I think that's the thing about this, because when I first started watching it, it reminded me a lot of this really good spy thriller. I don't know if any of you've seen it. It's called Spy Games. I think it came out in like the 90s. It's got Robert Redford and Brad Pitt in it.
Yeah, I remember seeing trailers for it and never saw it.
It's really good, but Andor reminded me a lot of that movie, where it's a lot of political talk that eventually leads up to action-packed sequences that are like very spur of the moment, like bursts of action. And Spy Games was a movie I really enjoyed. So I feel like Andor was more along those lines than like your typical Star Wars movie, which is probably why, like, the people that are raving the most about it are the ones that prefer more of the spy thrillers than traditional Star Wars, So I liked it because it was a whole different flavor, and that's why I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a much more mature storytelling than what you would get in a lot of the films, right? It's not as there's not as much suspension of disbelief in this, as far as the actions of the characters and what they do, and that kind of thing. You talked about how not everyone is shiny, right? Not everyone is spit polished. But that's even evident when Cassian has to kill Skeen, right? After they heist all the money, he's like, "You have 40 million, I have 40 million, and we'll go," right? And he just flat out, Andor shoots first. Let's let that be established in case of any future edits. Andor shoots first, but it's kind of the dark and gritty part of it too, right? It's just solid storytelling. Obviously, I didn't have nearly, and I think there's some merit to your criticisms, Austin. I thought the Cyril line was pretty slow moving.
Which one was the Cyril line?
He's the guy that. Go ahead.
He was the officer that originally went after him on Ferrix.
Yeah.
So I think that was slow moving. I do think Mon Mothma's storyline is slow moving, but I think that's going to change rapidly in season 2. I don't look at, and you mentioned, what are we working for? You get to the end of the series or the episode and you're like, okay, that's it. What does that mean? But I think a lot of it is, it's very much development, but it's all individual character development, and the dialogue really drives all that. You're not seeing a lot of development as far as like, movement against the Empire or building within the rebellion. You're not seeing that in mass, but I think all of this character development, the introduction of a lot of these characters, shows how you have these splinter cells or groups that are going to have to congeal at some point and move against the Empire and really start to give it trouble. And I think that this is putting all those pieces in place. I think, like I said, I think some of your criticisms are valid. I think a lot of it boils down to what kind of movie do you like best, or what kind of show do you like
I
best.
agree with that.
And on the internet, I've seen a lot of the same stuff you have, where it's, this is the greatest thing ever. I haven't liked anything this much since Empire Strikes Back or whatever. But then I've seen the opposite. I've seen your perspective out there in discussions on this, and people saying it's slow, it's boring. What's the point of this? We know how it's going to end. Da, da, da. So, I mean, I've seen both sides of that coin online, and I wouldn't say I've seen one more than the other. It's been about equal from my perspective.
And it's kind of it's kind of interesting because part of me wants to love it as much as everybody else loves it, and I personally kind of feel gypped that I'm not getting that same love out of it that other people are, because I want that same love.
So I'm just gonna point out, I gave some really great compliments on it because those are legitimate things, but this is not my type of show. And I as much as I enjoyed the political intrigue, I sat and watched it because Austin wanted to watch it. So when Austin wasn't here, I didn't watch it. He watched it with his brother, and I teased him mercilessly about it because I wasn't going to watch it without him.
So there's something else I was going to say. What was it? So Brady, you mentioned the this type of story might not be somebody's cup of tea. That I mentioned this on the Dave special that I did with him about Andor. George, when he sold Star Wars, talked about how he looked forward to seeing other directors, creating Star Wars stories, different genres of stories in Star Wars. And I still feel that same way, that there's enough room in Star Wars for different genres of Star Wars, and there can be a spy political intrigue.
I think
Star Wars
we're
movie.
beating a dead horse here because we're not getting into some of the nitty-gritty details that need to be discussed.
Like what?
Like Andy Serkis's character at the end of the escape.
Yes, and please.
Like that, I can't swim. They're working so hard to escape, and the only way to escape is to die. Like,
yes, that was
so
great.
There's a big part of me that really hopes he made it. Like someone helped him, and he made it, and we'll see him in season 2. 'Cause that part when he stands there and he's like, I can't swim, and everyone's just jumping all around him. I was like, just go, just do it. Like, death behind you, death ahead of you. Do you want to be a slave or a free man when you die? Like, that's
Find
like kind
something that floats.
And
jump.
And the way they finished that with Andor accidentally getting pushed off, it was like it was simultaneously maddening, disappointing, and a realization of how poetic it was all at once.
I mean, he could have made a float out of his pants.
If he had gone to Scouts, if he had learned that in Scouts.
And he would, if he'd gone to Scouts, he would know how to swim.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis was the perfect addition to this story.
Yeah.
In that because his portrayal of the character was just phenomenal, and the illustration that prison arc gave in the context of the larger story of just how brutal the Empire is treating these folks. It's really important, I think, in drawing a picture of the Empire at the moment and what they'll do. It's also kind of neat to know, and my son called it. Those little pieces were coming off; they were assembling them, and I was like, "What are those like?" I said, "Are those like TIE fighter couplers?" He goes, "No, man, those are part of the Death Star." And I was like, "What?" And then, of course, the end credit scene of the finale. But
listeners, there is an end credit scene. I didn't know that until I was texting my friends, and they were like, "Did you see the end credit scene?" And I was like, "What? There's an end credit scene? It's Star Wars. I don't expect that."
It's an IKEA drawing. But
that was cool. Which I was suspecting that. Like, I was like, I wonder if they're to the Death Star, and then that was just like, that was cool. That was like a satisfactory.
Now we know where a lot of those parts came from, because previously, it's like, how did they construct this? How did they build all this? Whatever. Well, there we go. That's how a lot of it was done. So that's, that in addition to we'll zap an entire floor, at the first sign of unrest, we'll just murder 100 people, to now knowing that these are pieces of the Death Star, which, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's interesting. The scene where Luthen is in his ship and he takes out those TIE fighters with his like lightsaber Darth Maul lasers.
That thing.
It's weird. I found the music in all of Andor season 1 to be probably lacking the most out of all the Star Wars TV series. And like that scene that's supposed to be like amped up, like I kind of just sat through it kind of, like almost bored. And then I watched somebody add some different music to that scene, and then I got super pumped up for it. And so that I guess I'm just saying, like, I missed some really good music, and when you watch the trailers, like when we just watched the music in the trailers is excellent. Like it gets me really pumped up, and then I think the music didn't quite play out as good in the shows. But
that's so funny you say that, because I didn't really notice the music, but that's like not in a and here's me that was ranting about Rings of Power music, but this, like, I think it's just because I don't really pay attention to the Star Wars soundtracks. I don't know, it didn't bother me. Like,
could you hum the Mandalorian theme right now?
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, I mean, I could too.
Like, I think Andor, like, I was just so engrossed in like what was going on that like I didn't need the music, because that scene you're describing, like, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. How's he gonna get away?
The genius of that scene was I mean, and there was also an Easter egg, because that Star Destroyer or that ship is one of the original concept arts by McQuarrie for the Star Destroyer. But I mean, that was just genius how he found out, okay, I'm in the tractor beam, this is the strength I need, and he gets it to pull a little bit harder, and as soon as they start pulling a little bit harder, he dumps the shaft, and it just busts that tractor beam. That was genius how he got away from them.
Yeah, I will say, I'll give a compliment to Andor, because I haven't given it enough, and it does deserve more. That scene and many others, like, they gave the Imperial officers a certain level of respect and seriousness that I think they deserve, that some of other Star Wars properties just, like, they almost use the Empire as like fodder for jokes. Like, I mean, like, take the sequel trilogy. Can you still hear me? I mean, they're doing like what was it, like a
Can you hear me now? Can you hear
me now joke, and the Empire's like, duh, what? So I appreciated them taking the Empire serious because I think a serious threat in the Empire is much more interesting to watch than just, buffoons in uniforms.
Well, they kind of had to for how they're setting this up. Like, because it's about the rebellion, and the rebellion's villain is the Empire. So, like, to have a worthy villain of this growing
Sure,
force,
yeah.
they need to be clever and smart,
Yeah.
Well, it's a serious series, so serious is appropriate for them.
Yeah.
If there's anything that this series is, it's serious, right? In its storytelling. I mean,
Well,
look at Dedra or Deidre, whatever her name is, the inspector.
Yeah.
She is. I mean, she's frightening. They picked a perfect
every
character
scene when
actor
she
for
came
her.
on, I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be good.
Oh yeah, very fun character. I'm predicting that she doesn't make it past season 2 though. I think she's probably gonna take a blaster to the head or something. So
that would be satisfying to see. I mean, she's a great character. I love her on the show.
Yeah,
but it would be great to see that character meet a very brutal demise.
She needs, I don't know. Yeah, she needs a good death.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's like, I don't know. Yeah.
So before we leave, we got to talk a little bit about season 2 and our predictions for it. Before we do, Diego Luna in Entertainment Weekly actually talked a little bit about what to expect in season 2, saying, quote, "You're going to have to wait a little bit for season 2 because each season is like 4 movies. It takes time. The only thing I can promise is that we'll do it with the same respect, vigor, intensity, and energy. We're not going to rush it. I mean, that's the beauty of this show. It's just 2 seasons, and we can concentrate and try to deliver something as good or even better." He then continued, as far as production goes, we just started. It's like it didn't stop. I think I finished the first season like 2 or 3 weeks ago, he said. That's the big difference of this format. We never stop working. We're about to start this new ride for the second season, which is a long one, but we're doing it with this beautiful feeling of knowing we did something that people cared about. So the second season is due to complete filming in August 2023. And showrunner Tony Gilroy promised it would be different from the first season. So I'm really curious as to what different it's supposed to be. Quote, "I'm hoping that we're going to do it in the second half, make the meal feel really satisfying. The first year is really about him becoming, and the last line of this 12 episodes will sum up where we've been trying to get to, and we come back a year later, it will be very different." So what was Andor's last line? It was basically, kill me or use me.
He was kill me or take me.
Yeah, kill me or take me.
Yeah.
So that is what we've been building up to. So this second season, I mean, the word different came up a few different times in that.
I think that I spoke to that a little bit earlier when I was giving my rundown on it, and I think we're going to start to probably very welcome to a lot of the fan base. I think we're going to see more action. I think we're going to see how it all comes together with we're going to start to see those familiar elements of the rebellion and the Empire. We're going to get more. I'm guessing there's going to be more about the Death Star. I think it won't surprise me if we start seeing a couple of X-Wings and Y-Wings, as this movement comes together. I think we're also going to see more Saw. It's going to give Saw more weight in Rogue One, and I think we're going to get a lot more Saw Gerrera in there as well. But I think it's going to be more traditionally Star Wars, but it's got to build to that. And we're going to get to see Mon Mothma lead the Senate, so that's going to be great. The whole breakdown there.
Ooh, yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah,
because right now she's like trying to keep it together.
I'm surprised we haven't seen Bail Organa yet, and I'm thinking that maybe we'll get Bail Organa in season 2. At least I'm hoping. Because I would like to see more Bail Organa and Mon Mothma interactions. I find both of their characters very interesting. I think season 2 is what I'm wanting to watch, and I'm hoping, and I'm predicting that I'm going to love it. Hopefully, as much as everybody has loved season 1.
One thing I will say, I do hope they address in season 2 is what happened to Andor's sister, because that kind of was the catalyst in the beginning that set him on this path as he was trying to find his sister.
They left that open-ended pretty much.
They really, and I didn't remember it until I was listening to the trailer just now for like when you played the trailer, and I was like, oh yeah, it all began with him going into a club and being like, I'm looking for this person, she's my sister, you know, like, oh dear, I hit my desk, sorry. Don't know if you heard that.
One character from the movies that I would love to see make an appearance, and very well may, I could see it in like a finale, but would be Ben Mendelsohn.
Oh, yes.
I would love to see him.
Krennic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, maybe that's the...
There's a pretty good chance. There's a pretty good chance that Krennic is on the Death Star in that end credit scene.
I'm looking forward to seeing how Cassian gets an Imperial droid.
Oh, yeah, K2SO. Yeah. We're getting that in season 2 for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to, even when you're a little grumpy like I am towards season 1.
Just watch Stellan Skarsgård's monologue about what he's given.
Yeah, that part.
Just watch that, and that's just that is.
I admit, I fully admit this show has deep, great writing. They take it serious. And the acting is superb, and so I do appreciate all that in Star Wars, and so I hope it gets better. So, anyways, any other final thoughts?
I think I've laid it all out.
All right,
yeah, I do. I would just kind of reiterate, if you haven't watched it yet, like. Go in, I think expecting it to be a spy thriller more so than a Star Wars movie, because that's what helped me a lot, was going in thinking I'm going to see a spy movie and not I'm going to watch a Star Wars movie or TV show, so that's my little last kick at the dead horse. So
all right, folks, thanks so much for joining us on another adventure of Super Nerd Podcast. Make sure to hit that podcast subscribe button and leave us a review wherever you're listening to us. Subscribe and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Anchor, Pocket Cast, YouTube, or wherever else you find us. Next week, we're going to be talking Willow! Willow! That's right, Willow 2, the sequel! Anyways, make sure to leave us a voicemail with your thoughts on Willow, and you just might be featured on the upcoming show. You can also email us your thoughts to supernerdpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Search Super Nerd Podcast. Give us a like, give us a share. And from all of us at Super Nerd Podcast, stay nerdy, my friends.
May the Force be with you.
I love you all.